Hello, folks. Welcome back. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania. We are now just a little over an hour away from a historic meeting between President Cyril Ramaphosa and Donald Trump. Ramaphosa arrived in Washington this week for his meeting with Trump, along with a team of ministers from his cabinet. Now, News 24 has reported on this story, and they say the discussions will focus on shaping trade, a framework for trade. That certainly may be part of the conversation, but it isn't going to end there if Trump has his way. News 24 says that while misinformation about local policies will be addressed, a South African delegation will focus on selling the White House a package of trade incentives. And South Africa has aggravated the Trump regime, raising concerns that Ramaphosa may come under public fire. So, News 24 asserts that few countries have aggravated U.S. President Donald Trump as much as South Africa. Now, folks, never mind the fact that that's a news story, but that's an opinion, the very first sentence in the story. It's a silly comment. South African media really think that South Africa is very important to the United States. I'm sorry, folks. It's not. It's not important. Geopolitically, South Africa is a rounding error these days. I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's just a statement of political reality. They also say there are real concerns that President Cyril Ramaphosa will face a dressing down, transmitted to the world during a media briefing at the Oval Office today. Now, folks, that's a distinct possibility. If Ramaphosa comes with the standard African National Congress arrogance, things will go poorly. They say a public display of hostility towards South Africa will not only put any trade negotiations to avoid the 31% reciprocal tariffs in jeopardy, but also pressure the rand. Well, that's not quite accurate. South Africa already faces a 31% tariff owing to the GNU's irresponsible negligence in not sending a trade representative to Washington, regardless of the outcome of this meeting. Trump rescinded the reciprocal tariffs for a period of 90 days and gave countries an opportunity to come to the United States and negotiate a deal. 78 countries sent people within a matter of days, hours. Japan and Korea were already on their way here when it was mentioned publicly. And then 78 countries responded. But South Africa is yet to send a single person to talk to the Trump administration about a trade deal. We're halfway through the 90-day period. Why have they been sitting on their ample bums in Cape Town instead of sending a representative here? Oh, that's right. They did appoint a special envoy, Nkabisi Jonas. But he's in Cape Town, talking to South African industry, not talking to American authorities. What is the plan here, South Africa? You think this conversation in 1 hour is going to resolve this issue? Hopefully there were some meetings on the sidelines behind this, because that is not going to solve anything. Now, indeed, the rand could very well tank after this meeting for several reasons, not the least of which is the realization that $3 billion in annual exports will soon have a 31% more expensive price, pricing the South African exporters out of the U.S. marketplace. Disastrous. 141,000 jobs in the automotive industry tied to exports to the U.S. alone. And think about the knock-on effect of 141,000 people suddenly without work. Ramaphosa's spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, told News 24 that the Zelensky-type treatment is not expected. The Ukrainian president was ambushed in a humiliating berating in the White House back in February. Now, once again, Cockpot 24 is putting op-ed into a news story. That's not news. That's an opinion. Zelensky was not ambushed. He tried to do what he always does with weak European leaders who allow him to hijack press conferences to whine about his own problems. Now, that was not the purpose of the press conference with Trump. His disrespect and disdain for the gracious invitation to the White House was present for any honest journalist to see. He tried to ambush Trump, and he got a well-deserved PK for it. Now, News 24 quotes Magwenya saying the issues are different, the leaders are different than the Zelensky case. Indeed, Trump is a bold, courageous, successful leader. Ramaphosa is a patronage puppy, spoon-fed success who's never achieved anything or earned anything. Now, Magwenya believes that Ramaphosa has had the perfect training to prepare for this meeting with Trump. Parliament. Seriously? Is that the same parliament where Ramaphosa committed an own goal, insulting Trump once again at his State of the Nation address in February? We will not be bullied. Yeah, is that the training he's got to prepare him for a meeting with Trump? So Ramaphosa has brought a D-list team of cabinet ministers with him to bore the Americans to death. First up, we have Ronnie Lamolle, the International Relations Cooperation Minister, who is out of his element in any task and a serial liar, a failed justice minister, and a failed foreign minister, a man who lied about eminent domain in the U.S. Then we have Kumbutsu Ntshavheni, the minister in the presidency, a serial failure in multiple cabinet positions. She's Zondo Commission implicated in corruption. Now let's see how well that goes over with Trump, who is death on corruption in the U.S. government and appointed Elon Musk to discover corruption. And you're going to bring someone deeply accused of corruption to the table. That's interesting. Then you have Parks Tao, the Minister of Trade, Industry, and Competition, the man who's pushing for racist corporate black tax to fill the coffers of a slush fund. I don't think Trump likes racist laws. And Parks Tao, who's a proponent for a 3% tax to fill a coffer to fund black business at the exclusion of everyone else, that's not exactly, equality and inclusiveness. That's racist. Then we have John Steenhuisen, the Minister of Agriculture, the token non-ANC member. You thought I was going to say token whitey. No, he's a token non-ANC member. A man who dismissed the horrors happening in South Africa, who railed against expropriation without compensation, the National Health Insurance Initiative, and the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act, only to go largely silent when it mattered most. The Democratic Alliance leader has lost most of his credibility with those who actually understand South Africa. Now, the real fun starts after the working lunch when the media briefing occurs. News 24 says that this is not a begging bowl exercise. Yeah, well, really? Really? I think it is a begging bowl. I think it's exactly what's going to happen here. So we'll see what happens as this meeting progresses today, but I have to say that it's probably not going to go very well from a South African perspective. That said, it might. So Ramaphosa is pulling out the teddy bear charm. He's brought Retief Hussein, he's brought Ernie Els, personal friends and golfers of Trump, along to schmooze him. Not to mention Anton Rupert set this whole thing up. Now, why are they doing this? Well, first off, where do they live? I don't think any of them live in South Africa, do they? Don't Ernie Els and Retief Hussein live in the United States? Doesn't Anton Rupert live in Switzerland? Do any of them actually live in South Africa full time? And of course, even if they do, they're fabulously wealthy and famous and connected, and they don't suffer any of the depredations or the horrors that other South Africans. They're not excluded from dinners. They're not prevented from getting government contracts. They're not forced to sell their businesses. Anton Rupert is smart. He has most of his holdings abroad. The Richemont Group is where most of his wealth comes from, which is a luxury dealer around the world, based out of Switzerland. So it is interesting to see the wealthy elites, the privileged, those who have no idea the suffering of the average South African, black, white, or brown, be the ones that will sit down in this lunch, in this conversation with Trump and Ramaphosa and his team of D-listers. What will come of it? Will Trump fall for the charm offensive? I suspect not. Donald Trump has a lot of political capital now invested in the refugee program, whether he intended to or not. I think he's pretty smart and realizes that. But there is a possibility. Anton Rupert, self-interested in his own interest in South African agriculture and keeping things the way they are and not seeing the country bled dry of its human capital, which is what's going to happen with the refugee program if it continues. Anton Rupert will likely try to put pressure and cajole, coerce, convince Trump to, if not cancel the refugee program, to at least slow it down so that people lose interest in it. It looks like no one's actually able to leave. Yeah, that might happen. You never know. But we will find out in the next number of hours. This meeting now just a little over an hour away from when Trump will greet them. Let's see how the meeting goes. I hope it goes well for South Africa and South Africans, but I'm not going to hold my breath because I'll just turn blue or purple like my hoodie and pass out. And who needs that? What say you, South Africa, South Africa, Mzansi, hey, world, United States, what do you say? This affects us directly. What's the relationship with South Africa going to look like after this meeting today? It could be ugly. It could be the same. Could be pretty. I don't think the last one's likely. Cheers, folks.